I have a big problem I need to solve. My brand new buddy heater that I bought last week doesn't work very well in the cold. And that defeats the purpose of having a buddy heater. I was fishing yesterday and it was like minus 30 degrees outside, and my buddy heater kept cutting out on me. And then when it cut out, I couldn't get it restarted again. The pilot light just would not light. Yesterday evening, after I got home from fishing, I made a post on one of my favorite Facebook pages about it, and I got lots and lots and lots of different responses about why this might be happening. Whether my buddy heater was a dud, or maybe the propane tanks were too cold. I have a really hard time believing that the propane tanks being too cold was the problem, because my little buddy heater, which worked for me every single time without fail, it always started for me. I've used that thing in similar kind of temperatures and never had any problems with it. And now that I have this new buddy heater, the 9000 BTU version, doesn't seem to work that well with propane cylinders that are cold. At least that's the theory. The other theory, that the buddy heater was trying to keep me alive because it was detecting low oxygen or something in my tent, probably not likely. I had both vents open in my tent and it was a bit windy outside, so there was plenty of fresh air circulation. So I've decided to try and run this experiment where I would use 3 different propane tanks. One in my house at room temperature, one in my garage, which is roughly close to the ambient temperature outside because it's pretty cold in my garage. And the other one I put in my freezer at 12:44 today, and it is now 10:55. So that tank has been in my freezer for 10 hours, and hopefully that will make it cold enough to give us some acceptable results based on this experiment. Now you might be saying, Jeff, it's 10:55 in the evening. What are you doing filming videos right now? I fell asleep with my daughter when I was putting her to bed, and now I'm wired. So here we are, and we're gonna conduct this little experiment with the Mr. Heater Buddy Heater for science. So I'm gonna run each tank for about 20 minutes because that's about how long I was getting out of my tank last night before it would die on me. And just to keep things consistent, all the tanks that I'm gonna use for this experiment are all brand new propane tanks. And I'm gonna sit in my garage for 20 minutes for each tank and freeze my butt off. I'm gonna measure the temperature difference between each tank before I start them using this, my infrared thermometer that I use when I make my baits. So we're gonna start the experiment, like I said, with the tank that's on my buddy heater. First things first, we're gonna measure the temperature of the tank. This is telling me minus 12.8 degrees Celsius. All right, so let's light her up. Well, there's the pilot. Hold this down for approximately 30 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds, as per the instructions. It's getting warm. Well, just pump it right up to high. And we will start our timer. 20 minutes, start. So we're about 10 minutes into the first tank, and the temperature of the tank after 10 minutes has gone down by, if you can see that, there we go. It's now minus 20, the tank. So that's a difference of, in 10 minutes, the temperature of the tank has gone down by almost 7 degrees Celsius. And just as an added piece of information, with this thing on high for 10 minutes, this little top black bar here is already up to 300 degrees Celsius. Guinness from a can just isn't the same as Guinness straight from the taps in Dublin. So maybe I'm gonna let this go for another 10 minutes. But we're gonna measure the temperature of the tank after 20 minutes now. There's a significant amount of ice buildup on the tank itself. See that? Minus 38 degrees. After 20 minutes, the tank is now almost at minus 40. Okay, so that's now 30 minutes that this tank has been running. Let's check the temperature of the tank. So far, so good. But to be honest with you, that's kind of what I was expecting, because I was running this buddy heater in my garage before I took it ice fishing yesterday without any problems at all. So I was fully expecting this tank to work just the way it is. Minus 43. There you go. Minus 43 degrees Celsius. Now, I don't know if the outside temperature of the tank is a good representation of the temperature inside of the tank, or how that would affect the pressure of the propane gas inside, but if the outside temperature is minus 43, that's cold. Now, in a real scientific scenario, you would have established your baseline first, which is the tank that's inside in the warm. But to be honest with you, I don't really want to sit out here for half an hour with a tank that I know is going to work fine in the buddy heater. So I'm just going to assume that that one worked fine. What I'm going to do now is take the one out of the freezer. Before we screw it in, we're going to measure the temperature of this tank. Minus 18.9. So if you remember, the tank that was in the ambient temperature of my garage was minus 12 point something. This one's about 6 degrees colder. Let's get it screwed on. Okie dokie. So now we've got our new tank on. I'm gonna light the pilot light, or try to. Okay, pilot light lit up, no problem. I'm gonna pump this thing up to high in just a second. Once it gets going, and there she goes. Do the same thing, start our timer. We'll do 20 minutes and then 10 minutes. Right away, I've noticed there's a lot more orange flickering out of the pilot light with the cold tank than with the ambient temperature tank. So after 10 minutes, our tank here is at, see that? Minus 28.9 degrees. That's 10 degrees in 10 minutes. We'll see how it goes at 20 minutes. All right, we are at 20 minutes for the cold tank. Let's check the temperature. 34 degrees. So in 10 more minutes, we went up 6 degrees. Let's give it another 10 minutes and see where it's at. All right, 30 minutes down. Let's take some temperatures of this tank. So far, so good. It hasn't cut out on me once. So let's see. 36, no, let's get a good one. 39.9. 39.9. Very similar results to the ambient temperature tank. So since I wasn't able to make this happen on its own, I'm gonna try and replicate the problem. I'm just gonna try and blow out the pilot light and then see if I can restart it. So let's see. All right, maybe let's try and. Oh, that turned it off. All right, give it a little shake. See if I can get this pilot light relit. All right, I was able to blow out the pilot light that time. See if I can get it relit. First time. Huh. Okay, so I don't know if I would call this experiment a failure. Like I said earlier in the video, somebody mentioned that maybe the buddy heater was cutting off because of a low oxygen sensor. I don't know, maybe it's possible. I don't know, but I can't see it being that, but I just don't know. I'm not a scientist and I had no way to measure the amount of oxygen in my tent at the time. Like I said, I had both vents open. There should have been adequate air circulation in my tent. But that said, if you run into this problem with your buddy heater, maybe crack a window, crack a door, maybe let some fresh air in, fresh air through. Maybe there's something to it. Hopefully this buddy heater will work for the rest of the time that I own it, just like it worked here today in my garage. So, I don't know. I guess only time will tell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.